In this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how I like to use the art catalog when I'm writing my episode stories. As you can see, I'm currently in the script that we are using for the episode interactive tutorials on my channel. There's a whole playlist on my channel for episode interactive tutorials where I show you guys basically the coding part of writing an episode story, so you can check that out. And the one that we are using is Stuck With You, The Road to Redemption. It is a story that I'm currently writing, but I'm going to be using the characters to do these tutorials for now. In the last tutorial, we learned about certain camera commands that we can use when writing an episode story. For example, you're on line 26. There's a part of the code that says at follow Alice to screen center in zone 3. If you watch the previous tutorial, I'll link it up here for you. Then that will make sense. But like I said, today we're going to be focusing on the art catalog, which is this tab over here. The number one thing to do when you're going to open up the art catalog is to not left click on it. Because if you're going to left click on it, this is what's going to happen. It's going to open up the art catalog on the same tab that my script was open up on, which can be a problem in case I'm trying to find a background or an overlay easily, but I'm working on a story. So what I like to do is go back to my script, and instead of left clicking on the art catalog, I'm going to right click on it and go to open link in new tab. So before I show you what's in that tab, basically the art catalog is where we're going to find the backgrounds for our stories, but we can also find overlays there. If we go over here to our library, we can see that we do have a tab that says overlays, and this can be quite tricky to use. So if you go to overlays available for all stories, you'll find all the overlays that episode provides, as you can see over here. The only issue that I've got with this window is that I can't see exactly what the overlays are going to look like in my story. In order to see them, I have to click the eye next to each individual one to be able to preview it. A little shortcut that I like to use is to go to where my backgrounds are. And as you can see, when I click on the art catalog backgrounds, it opens up this page and there's more tabs over here. There's backgrounds, overlays, clothing, animations. So in order to open up a tab for backgrounds and overlays, I'm going to actually duplicate this tab over here. So I'm going to right click, go to duplicate, and then I'm going to open up the overlays. So now I've got my script open on one tab, I've got the backgrounds open on the other, and then I've got overlays open in another tab. And as you can see, doing it this way, I can now see exactly what each overlay is going to look like instead of having to go over here and clicking on the eye next to each individual one. So on line 1, I've got something that says ext.beach tropical basic day, and this is actually one of the backgrounds that episode provides for us as writers. So going back to the backgrounds, you'll see that episode does provide a lot of different backgrounds for us. Of course, every scene in our stories have to happen with one background in place. You might see that when you're first creating a story, it opens up with a scene that says in black night, which also happens to be one of episode's backgrounds. Let's say, for example, you were looking for a background of a very specific thing. For example, you were looking for a background of a park. You could go over here to search for a background and type in park, and all the backgrounds that episode provides for us with a park in the name will appear here. Another thing to note about backgrounds is that they're either going to begin with int dot or ext dot, which simply indicates that the background either takes place on the interior of a building or the exterior of a building. Another thing that backgrounds are all going to either have, they're either going to have the word day or they're going to have the word night, again depending on when the scene is set, during the day or at night. The way that we add a background into our episode stories is not as you may think. For example, we go into this page and we see a bunch of different pictures. If I click on a picture, it's going to give me a preview of what this background looks like. But this is not how we're going to insert it into our stories. We cannot insert images into code. So what we do instead is we're going to copy the name of the image that we want to use, or rather the name of the background that we want to use, and you highlight it, you right click, go to copy, go back to your script, and then you can paste it in wherever that scene is going to start taking place. For example, I'm going to set it to go over here. So I'm going to go to a new line, right click and paste, and automatically this background is now put in my story on line 28. If none of this makes sense, go and watch the tutorials from the first one, because we've basically just been adding on. This might not even make sense even if you understand code, because again, I'm just incorporating every tutorial that I've done into one story, and by the end of all the episode tutorials, we're going to code a story together, or rather a scene of a story that makes more sense. So just hang in there. Also leave comments if you're unclear about certain things, or you have requests on videos that you want me to make to help you with your episode writing. I'm more than willing to have a look at those comments and see what I can do. So that's how you insert backgrounds in your stories. Let's go over to overlays. So an overlay is pretty much self-explanatory. It's an object that's basically going to lay over your background. For example, in this background, we've got an airplane. If we wanted to add another vehicle that doesn't exist on the background, we could go to overlays and, for example, choose this ambulance. I don't know why the ambulance specifically, but it's just the first vehicle that popped up. And the same with backgrounds. The way that you add overlays is not by using the image. The image is just there to give us a preview of what it would look like in our story. But in order to add an overlay to your background, you actually are going to do the same exact thing and copy the name of the overlay. Right click, copy, go back to your script. So I'm going to actually take this out of this scene just because I'm not going to be using this background in here. I've got a background on top over here, like I said, and this is the one I'm going to be using for this scene. In order to add an overlay to a background, you've got to go to where your background is in your script. Mine is on line 1. So like I said, every episode, background's going to either end with the word day or night. After that, you want to hit the space bar so that there's a space between day or night and the next word. And in all lowercase letters, you're going to type the word with, hit the space bar, and then paste in the name of your overlay. So right click, go to paste. So that's how you insert an overlay onto a background. I'm going to preview this and show you pretty much what it looks like. We haven't allocated a specific place in a specific zone to our overlay, but we are going to do that very, very soon. Okay, so this is what I meant. We haven't allocated a specific place for this vehicle, so I'm just going to keep skipping through it. And I'm actually going to place the overlay in zone 3, which, as we can tell from line 26, is where the camera follows Alice to. So in order to give the overlay a specific location, I'm actually going to go to show helpers, go to spot directing, and then change overlay. It gives us all the information that we need for this overlay. So I'm going to make some changes here. For example, I'm going to move it over, and I'm also going to switch to scale and make it a bit smaller. Again, it doesn't have to be practical in this tutorial. I'm basically just showing you how to maneuver all of these tools. I'm going to have it stand right there. It makes no sense, but there's an overlay on the background. And then I'm going to copy basically what I just did and paste it in under here. So now when I save and preview, the overlay is already going to be in this position. Another thing is that if you do get this warning, you can just delete that line, because I don't know why episode actually does that. But just go and backspace and save and preview once again. Okay, perfect. So that's basically how I like to use the art catalog for backgrounds and overlays. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, if anything's unclear, leave a comment below and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible and as best as I possibly can. And I'll see you guys in my next tutorial.